Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, defending real comedy from the leftist fascist mob whenever possible. They tried to do it, folks. They tried to cancel Dave Chappelle, and of course, what did you think was gonna happen? We already have a term for it. It's called the Streisand effect. The more the leftist mob tries to cancel our heroes, the more the leftist mob tries to censor speech and police comedy, the more they will end up the butt of the joke. You know, that's the way it goes. It's kind of astonishing how they haven't realized yet. The more they cry, the more they melt down. The more they post their screeching videos on TikTok, the more people will continue to fight back. They made Dave Chappelle public enemy number one of the woke trans movement, and now it seems as though Dave Chappelle has responded in kind by making sure there's a trans joke or a trans bit in every single comedy special he does. Let me show you guys the big controversy this time. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright friends, so Dave Chappelle has a new special. You know what that means. Cue the leftist outrage. Cue the leftist outrage. Dave Chappelle made a joke.
And the only thing that got me out of that space was a comedian friend of mine, the late, great Norm Macdonald. That's right. Shout out to Norm. And what Norm did, which I'll never forget, is he knew that I was the biggest Jim Carrey fan in the world. Now, I'm not going to go all into it, but Jim Carrey is talented in a way that you can't practice or rehearse. What a God-given talent. I was fascinated with him. And Norm knew that. And he called me up and he goes, Dave, he says, I'm doing a movie with Jim Carrey. Do you want to meet him? And I said, yes, I do. And it was the first time I could remember since my father died being excited. And the movie was called Man on the Moon. I didn't know any of this. And in this movie, Jim Carrey was playing another comedian I admired, the late, great Andy Kaufman. Yes, and Jim Carrey was so immersed in that role that from the moment he woke up to the time he went to bed at night, he would live his life as Andy Kaufman. I didn't know that. When they said cut, it's still Andy Kaufman. So much so that everybody on the crew called him Andy. I didn't know any of that. I just went there to meet him, and when he walked into the room where we were supposed to meet, I screamed, Jim Carrey! And everyone said, no! Call him Andy. And I didn't understand. And then he came over and he was acting weird. I didn't know he was acting like Andy Kaufman. Just like, hey, how you doing? And I was like, hello. Andy? Now, in hindsight, how lucky am I that I got to see one of the greatest artists of my time immersed in one of his most challenging processes ever. Very lucky to have seen that. But as it was happening, I was very disappointed. Because I wanted to meet Jim Carrey, and I had to pretend this was Andy Kaufman all afternoon. And he was clearly Jim Carrey. I could look at him and I could see he was Jim Carrey. Anyway, I say all that to say, that's how trans people make me feel.
Why is this even a conversation? What is with the left's relentless effort to ruin absolutely everything, to just get in the way of basic fun? You know, what's being said here is that what Dave Chappelle said was horribly offensive. Just horrible stuff. But all it was an observation. It was just Dave Chappelle telling us how he feels in a particular situation, which I think most people can relate to. A lot of the times, that's kind of what comedy is, right? Funny observations, taboo topics, things that everyone can relate to, are things that people are too scared to say out loud, but the fearless comedian stands on the stage and says it. We need comedy. We need comedians to be able to cut through the stigma, go to the taboo places that people are unwilling to go to in their everyday regular lives. Why exactly is that important? Well, it's important because people need to learn how to not take themselves so seriously, to relax. And man, does the trans lobby need to seriously, and I mean seriously, relax. It's a frickin' joke. It's a joke joke about your identity. What's the big deal? You know, the notion that there needs to be a protected class or protected groups of people. The argument is that it's somehow punching down. Even though the trans lobby seems to be one of the most influential and powerful, I guess we'll say, media lobbyist groups in the modern era. But what's the implication here? That making fun of somebody who has less perceived power than you should be illegal or something? Or so culturally taboo that no one would ever dare cross that line? Give me a break. Somehow, according to leftoids, comedy punching down on the working class, on Trump supporters perceived as hicks or working class people from rural neighborhoods, or working class people from rural areas, that's apparently A-okay. It's open season on the MAGA hillbillies. You know, I'd argue that's punching down. It's the corporate media, all the late night talking shows, trashing on regular blue collar folk. That's somehow acceptable, but making jokes about trans people is unacceptable, even though obviously there's all kinds of great material there. Again, give me a break. What we have is a particular group of people that have somehow infiltrated institutions of cultural power, and they've decided to weaponize that power to mobilize their little censorship campaign against people who laugh at them. I mean, I can't think of anything more pathetic. It's simply an extreme but very loud minority. Here's the perfect example. I mean, you could literally see exactly what I'm talking about, this loud minority, this group of people that have infiltrated these cultural institutions, as I stated earlier, represented on Rotten Tomatoes. The contrast between the tomato meter score and the audience score. Here's Dave Chappelle's Sticks and Stones from 2019. He got a 40% from the official critics. Reviews like this: not that Chappelle himself feels he has anything to fear, but he leans into his own transgressive nature nonetheless. Dave Chappelle is transgressive for making jokes about protected groups of people. Meanwhile, the audience scores at 99. Here's Dave Chappelle, The Closer, 36% tomato meter. Why Netflix deserves some heat for Dave Chappelle's transphobic comments, says Jonathan P. Higgins. Meanwhile, the audience scores at 95%. Then, of course, Dave Chappelle's most recent stand-up special, 85% on the audience score. We only have one review on the tomato meter, but again, the exact same thing. Ian Thomas Malone writes, "The Dreamer is a lazy victory lap from a man with nothing else of value to offer the world beyond self-congratulatory musings on his own legacy, a lethargic effort aimed solely at fueling the far-right grievance industrial complex for another week." This coming from Ian Thomas Malone. Let's read Ian's biography. Ian Thomas Malone is an author, comedian, and podcast host. She earned her BA at Boston College in 2013, where she founded the Rock at Boston College, and an MA from Claremont Graduate University. Ian's treatise, The Transgender Manifesto, is a bestseller in LGBTQ nonfiction. She has contributed chapters to academic books on James Cameron and Star Trek Voyager. Ian's debut comedy album, Confessions from My New Vagina, oh lord, was released in 2021. And so obviously you get it, it's a power dynamic. We have a cultural lobby that is attempting to control speech, what people can and can't say. They want to make it illegal to poke fun at them, to make jokes on their behalf. They want to police and censor comedy. But of course, the unfortunate reality that I think they've yet to learn is the Streisand effect. The more they attempt to police, the more they review brigade or review bomb brigade, the more they screech, the more they holler, the more they melt down on TikTok, the more comedians will write bits pushing back against the ridiculous outrage peddling. Listen, wokey leftoids, take my advice, please. Just stop.
Stop it. Get some help.
Just take a chill pill. Stop taking everything so serious. Stop getting so offended. Learn to laugh a little, even if that means laughing at yourself. Dave Chappelle made a joke. It wasn't a terrorist attack. It was a haha. It was a little anecdotal story with a funny little twist at the end. Take a breather, relax. No one cares. The world continues to revolve. What leftoids need to understand is that the world does not revolve around you. Anyways, that's pretty much what I got. Not much new to say here. Dave Chappelle made a joke and the leftoids are crying. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.